Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Yella with her fantastic film, Hedgehog. Let's take a look at the clip.
What do I do now?
Well, you have 2 more turns to get to 6. And if you don't, it's my turn.
Okay. All right, your turn.
So, yeah. I get to throw again.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for bringing such a brilliant film to us as well. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a little bit about it.
All right, so Hedgehog take place during one night in which a caregiver in a nursing home finds out accidentally that one of her patients is an ex-Nazi criminal hiding in the senior home under false identity. So she decides to not reveal to him that she have found out and spend the night with him and getting to know a monster.
Yeah, it's a really hard watch from start to finish. You know, it's painful to watch because you see what she's feeling, what she's going through, what her character is going through in the research and everything else and uncovering. And it just literally sends chills down you because we all know how horrific, or we should know how horrific that time was, and we never want to go there again. Creating these characters, you created incredible characters, and it was so brilliantly acted as well. But I'm curious to know, where did the inspiration come for creating this brilliant film?
So I myself am a granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. So the story of the Holocaust is something that I grew up with. And what really sparked this film was I was looking at recently some of those Nazi criminals in their mid-late 90s are being brought to trial. And I saw one of these trials on television, and of course I'm very curious to see, okay, justice is being made. These people lived normal life after committing these atrocities. And then looking at the television, expecting to see a monster. Suddenly I see, a vulnerable old man with a walker that can barely walk, that can barely talk, that is vulnerable, and looks just like an old human being that could have been my grandfather. And then it hit me. How can I feel compassion towards someone who was complicit of an unimaginable crime?
Yeah.
And I thought that this deserved a film because I wanted to raise that very, very difficult realization about the duality of good and evil that exists in all of us.
Absolutely. And the way that you unleash this story, I mean, the fact that obviously this, character, this man who had done these horrific crimes, and then having someone in the position of caring for him, right, was so uncomfortable. And I'm still in admiration for how the character unveiled her, what she went through and what she was feeling, and that she made the choice to spend a night with him, and spend the time with him to learn about him. And it was a painful watch. And how did you, going from your family's history and what your family had to go through, and then being the granddaughter and then making this story, how did you work with your actors on a story as sensitive as this for you, but also for the world as well?
So I'm gonna start with Mr. Holtz, who's playing the character of the Nazi. So for him, my guideline was to simply be charming and come from a place of just a lonely man who was recently diagnosed with the first stages of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And that before he loses it, he wants to spend a night with a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And really that's all it was. I didn't come from, okay, you're the evil Nazi criminal. No, because what I wanted to achieve is that the audience is looking at a charming person, at a lonely person, and asking themselves, what would I do?
Yeah.
Right? So my guidelines to him was to just simply have the objective of spending a lovely night before it's too late.
And whilst we're on his character, you know, he obviously was at our event, and, you know, him coming from an Orthodox Jewish background, you know, and playing on that character, you know, he really enjoyed experiencing being directed by you and was so, you know, happy to work with you. But it was a lot for him to experience, and a great challenge for him as an actor as well, to take on the opposite of what he had experienced growing up too. And so, you know, you got a really good performance out of him for sure with him. So well done. Moving on to you know, to your female lead, like she is mesmerizing. She said so much. How did you work with her on character?
Wow. So for her, it was a little more complex because she's a woman who is not, who's going through a period in her life that is not easy. She's working the night shift, putting herself through school, right? So there's a line in the movie where he says, you know, because they're playing this board game, right? And there's lucky colors and unlucky colors, and it's that game is a little bit of a metaphor for microcosm, right?
Yes.
And so she tells him, I'm like your yellow soldiers. I'm not so lucky. She's in a point in her life where everything goes against her, and then she suddenly gets this opportunity to look at someone who, at a certain time, was a part of a privileged, you know, race, as they put it, right? Oppressing another race, and really explore that evil. So for her, this is coming from a very defeated place, but trying to get on top.
Yeah.
And that's really what my guideline was for her.
I have so much admiration for her character and how I don't know that I could have been as calm and collective as she was, even though she was in that position. I just, you know, it's incredible. But I love how you said you were playing on the fact of like the good and evil, you know, and also how this could have been somebody else, and what's within us as well, you know. And
right, it's the good and evil, but it's not clear cut, and that is what is so hard for us to accept, because there is, you know, and I'm kind of doing quote unquote, right, kind of like a Hollywood perception of like it's of a dichotomy, right, of good and evil, and the grays are not so interesting, but reality, life is very gray. And what we cannot accept is that we're all evil and we're all good. And it depends on our circumstances. It depends on the systems around us that enable good people to commit horrible crimes, right? And here is a caregiver who has all of the, you know, moral advantage to come up on top and like, yes, revenge on the Nazi, but at the same time, she's a caregiver to an old man, right? And so what does she do? So I think that's, to me, is what interesting in film, in theater, is that gray area. Is that it's not clear cut, and this is where interesting dilemmas surface.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I it's so nice when we're challenged like that as an audience member and a filmmaker to not only learn and educate, but also to just really look at those gray areas that we don't see. It's not black and white. It's, you know, it's some, and I find that interesting, like those areas, because it's real life too, you know, it's the real life perspective as well.
Yes, and I wanted to point out on that note, because it's very interesting for research that I've done, that the Nazi units that actually murdered women and children in cold blood, there's a book called Ordinary Men that was actually looking into who these people were. And astonishingly, they found out that they were not the biggest anti-Semites. They were not the cruelest, kind of like radicalized with the Hitler Youth and all of that. There were people with families, with children of their own, who celebrated holidays, who really had nothing special to them, that were able to do something that we cannot comprehend. So we need to ask ourselves a question: what brings those good people to do that? And it's a very, very hard question to ask. So that's part of what the film is about.
Absolutely. But I mean, well done to you, because I love that you're giving us all those important things to think about, as an audience member. What was you made this during COVID times, God bless you, but what was it like doing it during that time? But also, was there any challenges that you had making this particular film in itself?
Yes, definitely. So first of all, I think the production was in motion twice before, and then didn't happen. The second time it was because of COVID. We actually had a nursing home in Melrose, like mid-city nursing home, that said that the owner was Jewish, and they told us, I read the script, you get access to the nursing home, film with no cost. If anybody who's in production knows that this is like,
especially in LA,
right? Yeah. And we even get the seniors. If you need background, you can use the facilities. You can use, and I was just like, this strike gold, right? This is fantastic. And then COVID hit, and of course, nursing homes out of the question. So the first places that were completely shut down. So we had to wait. But then it occurred to me that if there's any movie that you can do during COVID, is a movie with two people in a room, where you can really, there's a very small cast, very small crew, you don't need, it's manageable for the amount of people that you need to protect. So, and I also direct theater, and theater completely died.
Yes.
So I was like, this is the time to do a movie about two people in a room. So then there was a church actually at Hermosa Beach that welcomed us. And we turned the church into a nursing home and did it that way.
It's amazing. I love how you overcame all those obstacles and, still made the film happen as well. And that's, well done. So with that being said, like, I'm just so curious of all the moralities and experiences that you've put into this film. What's the reaction been like for you in sharing this with other audiences, and how's it been?
Very, very good. So we started by having two screenings, just kind of like premiere and then a private screening in downtown LA, and inviting audiences. And what was nice about those screenings is that we actually had an open conversation after with the entire audience. And because the movie itself ends in an ambiguous way and is a conversation starter, it was fascinating to hear everyone in the audience just answering. And the question that we asked was simple: what would you do?
Yes, right.
And the answers that we've gotten were incredible. So these were two really interesting nights. And then we started to do festivals. And I must say that in every Q&A, people still have that, what would I do? We also won numerous awards with the movie. We won Best Short Drama. We won for Best Actor, Best Actress. So it's been a great response.
Yeah.
We, other places in the world. So it's been a good run. What's to me was definitely, like I said, was interesting is to hear the reactions of the people. Here's an interesting nugget. So here in LA, most people said, what would you do, or what do you think she did, right? And they said, she probably killed him, and, and that's what I would do as well. And then I screened it in Canada, in Victoria Island, and the audience there said, oh no, it was an act of compassion. She gave him a last wonderful night, and basically kind of like a mercy.
Oh, interesting.
Mercy. So I was sort of like,
how contrasting from the Canadians and those
I know.
LA,
so
right?
that was it's the interesting things that you found out.
Really interesting. Yeah. I mean, again, I think there's nothing better than making a film where we're all going away thinking about it still. Like, I'm still thinking about your film. I'm still thinking about how you ended it. For those that haven't seen it, the ending's, it's amazing, and just the words and the writing and everything was just so perfect the way it ended. It was really, wonderfully ambiguous and kept us thinking, and also making sure we never forget, because, history can repeat itself if we're not careful. And we're already seeing that in today, and we got to make sure we condemn all of those things that are taking place. And, your film is an important reminder of that too. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I really think that it's only a warning if you are able to. I think that the first step to really learn a lesson is to first admit to ourselves what we're capable of. So that's why I thought that particular point was important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know literally at the moment you're currently directing a play, which is amazing. Has this spurned on? Because I know you direct theatre, and that's amazing. I can't wait to see your play. We're all going to go. But what is next for you? You're going to still do some more film as well? Is that something on the agenda for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a feature film that I wrote and I intend to direct called The First Day of Spring. I actually have an actress attached as the lead and as a producer, and she's with the big agency, so we are taking meetings, and we really hope to get it off the ground. It's a very, I call it a radical, revolutionary film.
I love it.
That is structured in a way that you haven't seen anything like this. And yeah, I hope it takes off. Yeah,
That's amazing.
It's in the process. Yeah.
Well, we're very excited. I'm excited to see that. We're excited to see the next one. So looking forward to that. For you as a director, is there kind of any advice you have for fellow directors out there that would like to follow in your footsteps, or filmmakers in terms of their creativity?
Sure. I would say don't waste your time if you're not honest. If it doesn't come from a real place, because I think that as a young person, if you start to form your artistic path in a, I think I want to be like that or direct like this, and the genre is this meets this, and I want to. Then I would call it a waste of time, because what we really want is that thing that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And it only comes from being very, very honest and in tune with who you are. And I feel like that before starting to do anything, you have just to stop and find what that is.
I love that. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been so lovely to chat to you, and thank you for...
My pleasure. Thank you for having us. What an honor.
We couldn't do it without you. So, no, thank you for sharing. Hedgehog is a really, really fantastic film. Well done to you and all of your cast and your crew, and for you for bringing the story to us. And we're looking forward to your next project. So welcome to the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.